The following video is not intended to cause personal offense nor to be interpreted as a personal attack on the individuals included or mentioned in the video. Should the person or people included or mentioned in the video feel that I have not exercised enough discretion to meet with the above-mentioned criteria, this video will be removed should they demand that it be done. Enjoy. We're far in the future now, and World of Warcraft is in crisis. The danger of not being able to produce new meaningful raid encounters looms on the horizon. Aware of this threat, Blizzard makes an unorthodox move, and instead of using lore characters as a concept for raid encounters, they reach outside of the game for inspiration. In this video, I will tell you about, as well as how to defeat one of Blizzard's newest, most unconventional raid bosses in the game yet. In a mysterious, neglected house within one of the many community environs of one of Battle for Azeroth's latest new zones, called Austin, Texas, swirls a green portal which serves as an entrance to a yet unexplored raid instance, Asmongold's Lair. Within this charnel dwelling resides a solitary raid boss, the raid's eponymous, the one and only Asmongold. Asmongold's Lair is a one-boss raid instance which players may choose to enter in 3 different difficulty modes: normal, heroic, and mythic. Take note that this instance does not exist on Raid Finder difficulty, so don't even bother looking for it in the Raid Finder tab. Upon entering the dungeon, the raid group will find themselves inside a derelict corridor. Their first order of business is to deal with a sizable group of ads that stand in the way. This swarm of skittering cockroaches thrives on neglected food and a general lack of hygiene, so it's best to make sure that no one in the raid group wears anything that remotely represents filth, and also not have any food consumables that have been kept in the player's inventory for longer than a week. Players who do not meet these conditions will become priority targets to these cockroaches, regardless of threat generated. The raid must cut a path through the swarm of skittering cockroaches as fast as possible. This is because, once engaged in combat, they will keep spawning repeatedly and in increasing numbers, so if your damage is low, you will be in danger of being overwhelmed. The corridor is divided into 2 safe zones and 1 hazard zone. Entering the hazard zone triggers the cockroach gauntlet, causing the bots to start spawning repeatedly. This, however, stops happening when the whole raid reaches the opposite safe zone at the end of the corridor. Therefore, the goal is to get there as soon as possible. On mythic difficulty, entering a hazard zone also causes the Queen to spawn. And so long as she is alive, cockroaches will continue to spawn regardless of where the players stand, so it is crucial that she is dealt with as soon as possible. The Queen has a large health pool, and although the damage she deals is small, she wields an aura that motivates other cockroaches around her to be more effective. Furthermore, her presence on the battlefield accelerates the rate at which new cockroaches spawn. Once this part of the raid instance is dealt with, players will find themselves climbing up a short, unkempt stairway which leads directly to the eponymous room of the raid instance, where Asmongold himself lies in wait. There are 2 core mechanics around which the boss fight revolves. 1. Most of the encounter consists of avoiding environmental effects which cover the majority of the area. Therefore, proper positioning and movement means everything. This is because the whole place is a terrible mess riddled with piles of neglected fast food boxes that would make even a cleaning lady keel over. Players who collide with a neglected fast food box will receive a debuff called Mold Spores. This debuff can stack for each food box a player walks through. Take note that a fast food box despawns when you topple it, but it will respawn soon after. Mold Spores is a disease debuff, which deals a small amount of nature damage every 4 seconds. If a player reaches 12 stacks of Mold Spores, they become mind-controlled for 30 seconds and slowly start walking towards Asmongold. I will soon tell you why, so bear with me. On heroic mode, walking over a fast food box spawns 3 rampant cockroaches who cause a stackable infected bite with each attack. This deals a small amount of damage every second and increases nature damage taken by 2% for 15 seconds. This is not dispellable, and therefore any cockroaches that spawn should be dealt with quickly before the debuff escalates. On mythic mode, 6 rampant cockroaches spawn instead. The second core mechanic revolves around the fact that Asmongold actually shows the encounter live on his stream. Let me explain how this works. There are 2 factors that a player must pay attention to. First, how many viewers are watching Asmongold. Second, how happy they are with the quality of the stream. The amount of viewers watching Asmongold is defined by a percentage value. In all difficulty modes, the fight starts off with 50% of viewer capacity. Asmongold is a neckbeard streamer, and therefore the amount of viewers he has at any time throughout the encounter determines whether he is stronger or weaker. For every 1% of viewers above the 50% threshold, Asmongold gains a 0.5% increased damage dealt, as well as a 0.5% reduced damage taken. However, below the 50% threshold, the bonuses become inverse, meaning that for every 1% of viewers lost, Asmongold will deal a 0.5% less damage and take 0.5% more damage from players. The key objective is to make sure that Asmongold drops down on viewers, ideally to 0. This is because at 0%, Asmongold becomes a dead streamer, which doubles the values of his neckbeard streamer status. So this means that he will ultimately deal 50% less damage and receive 50% more damage from players. This also applies if Asmongold peaks to 100% viewer capacity, and you don't want this to happen. In this case, Asmongold becomes God of Twitch, which causes him to deal 50% more damage and receive 50% less damage. In the later phases of the encounter, this is guaranteed to lead to a quick wipe. When the fight begins, players will see a power bar displayed on their screens which shows how many viewers are watching the stream, so pay attention to the power bar. The mechanic that determines whether Asmongold gains or loses viewers is built around the entertainment factor. In other words, how happy are the viewers? This is displayed on a second power bar next to the number of viewers bar. There are a total of 5 states that Asmongold's viewers can be in: ecstatic, happy, neutral, unhappy, or angry. If the viewers are ecstatic, the viewer number grows by 2% every 9 seconds. If they're happy, the viewers grow by 1% every 9 seconds. At neutral, nothing happens. Unhappy, the viewer number decreases by 1% every 9 seconds, and if they're pissed off, the viewer number decreases by 2% every 9 seconds. The objective is simple: bring the entertainment factor as low as possible, prevent it from going above neutral. Do this to slowly but surely bring down the number of people watching Asmongold's stream. This will render him increasingly vulnerable and help make the fight easier in general. There are several ways how the entertainment factor is influenced, and I will touch on those as I go through the details of the encounter, so make sure to pay attention to the video. Lastly, there are 2 important things about Asmongold that should be taken into consideration. Throughout the entirety of the encounter, Asmongold is a slayer of furries. This means that every source of damage that players can suffer is quadrupled on players that are either Vorgon, Volpera, or Pandaren. So if you're thinking of bringing in players who are either one of the 3 races, then you should probably think twice before inviting them, if you want to invite them at all. On heroic difficulty, Asmongold is a slayer of furries as well as weebs. This is the same as a slayer of furries on normal mode, but in the event that someone in the group mentions anything that is even remotely related to anime, you get one-shotted. On mythic difficulty, this passive ability changes a little bit. This means that if a Worgen, Volpera, or a Pandaren character is present in the raid group, Asmongold starts the fight with a 99% reduced enrage timer, causing him to, well, enrage immediately upon the pool, and that's a downright wipe. Players who decide to watch anime while doing this raid on mythic difficulty immediately get booted out and get banned from entering Asmongold's lair for 6 months. The encounter consists of 3 phases, with 2 intermission phases in between. Phase 1 begins immediately upon pulling the boss. Now begins the fight. The fight starts off with Asmongold announcing his entry into the arena. This causes a temporary spike in the chat's entertainment factor, throwing them into the ecstatic state as the chat becomes proliferated with a tidal wave of pogs and pogchamps and whatever else is the trend. And because of this, players must act with precision to bring the entertainment factor down as quickly as possible. First of all, Asmongold is not stupid, and he is aware that focusing on the tanks is an idiot strategy, so he would rather go for the healers first. Unfortunately, the video game environment prevents him from cognitively acting that way, so, like most other raid bosses, he becomes a nice victim to World of Warcraft's programming code and focuses his attacks on a target with the highest threat instead. Alas, Asmongold is heavily invested in the whole idea of being a mighty warrior, so you'd think his auto attacks would deal a lot of damage. Well, the thing is, well, he doesn't really pack the muscular density necessary to deal a lot of physical damage, so tanks and healers can rest easy. He doesn't do a lot of damage. He will, however, and quite often I should say, throw scrunched up papers at his current target. This one deals physical damage and it hurts a lot. Don't ask me why, it just does. Simply avoid the direction in which he throws them, and you're good. Tanks, you don't want to aim these papers towards the rest of the group. Also, make sure that Asmongold does not face the wall if you're tanking him close to it. The scrunch up papers can ricochet off the wall and it's guaranteed to hit Asmongold right in the face. Yes, this will disorient him a little bit for 2 seconds, but it has a tremendously positive impact on the entertainment factor, which ends up boosting the stream quality and more viewers will rush in to watch, which results in Asmongold growing more powerful. Asmongold also keeps the tanks busy with an ability called Check Chat Logs.
I haven't read anybody's logs all day, dude. It's been a while. This is some new content.
A spell that is channeled for 12 seconds, and at the end of its duration, he inspects the chat logs of his current target, finds out that he or she is an absolute spurg and banishes the player permanently from the encounter. This has a positive impact on the entertainment factor, not good. Taunting Asmongold resets the channel time of this ability, so tanks, you gotta make sure that you're always paying attention and cycle through taunts on time. Be aware that Asmongold has poor hygiene.
I do not smell bad at all.
This means that every 1 second, Asmongold pulses with a pungent nova in a 40-yard radius. When a player is hit 3 times by this, a stack of mold spores is applied to them. If not enough players are affected by the nova after the 3rd pulse, a large immobile ooze spawns. This neckbeard ooze radiates an unavoidable raid-wide nova every 3 seconds that applies a stack of mold spores. Killing the ooze will leave behind a toxic pool at its location, and players who stand within the pool for more than 1.5 seconds becomes mind-controlled for 30 seconds as if they had 12 stacks of mold spores. Now, I have mentioned the mind control before, so what does a mind-controlled player do then? Well, you see, Asmongold has a secret aura about him called I don't make gold, gold makes me. What this does is that every mind-controlled player becomes inexorably drawn towards Asmongold, forcing them to slowly walk towards him. Once they get within melee range of the boss, a trade window will pop up and the mind-controlled player begins to funnel his gold straight into Asmongold's pocket. In the event that a player becomes mind-controlled, the best course of action is to rely on crowd control abilities and as sure as hell, make sure that they are not near the boss or else they start losing their hard-earned cash. On heroic mode, poor hygiene is replaced by 14 days later, same shirt.
I do not smell bad.
This means that instead of applying mold spores every 3rd pulse, the debuff is applied every 2nd pulse instead. Throughout Phase 1, Asmongold will periodically perform an armory check on 3 players of the raid.
Yeah, let's check his armory. That's a good idea.
With the exception of the tanks. Now in this case, 2 things can happen. If the item level of the inspected player is lower than the item level of Asmongold's loot table, they will receive a humiliation debuff for 30 seconds, which reduces the player's damage dealt based on the percentage value of how many people are watching Asmongold now. This is because the humiliated player also gets roasted by Asmongold, and the chat loves that.
What the fuck is wrong with you? How are you this bad at the fucking game? This is embarrassing. Holy shit, this is terrible.
So make sure your item levels are adequate for the fight, please. If their item level is equal to or higher than that of Asmongold's loot table, he will proceed to slowly walk towards one of them with gradually increasing movement speed in an attempt to seize their highest item level weapon, whether they have it equipped or in their bags. Players must stay on alert when this happens. Here's why. During Can I Get That?
I need that perk.
A random neglected fast food box will start glowing with a golden light, which signifies that instead of leftover food, it actually contains a fresh supply of Wendy's spicy nuggets. Players must quickly act and navigate through the labyrinth of fast food boxes and acquire the nuggets. Once they've taken possession of them, they must quickly run and place it in front of Asmongold or in Asmongold's path. This will cause him to become distracted for 10 seconds, putting an end to his attempt at stealing the player's precious loot. And what if the raid fails to stop him? Well, what happens depends on which item type Asmongold commandeers.
Wow, that's a big boy.
If it's a dagger or a fist weapon, he gets a 30% attack speed increase. If it's a sword, he gets 20% increased damage. Polearm, 15% attack speed and 15% damage dealt. Bows, crossbows, guns, they turn Asmongold's auto attack into ranged. Maces cause Asmongold's every 4th attack to stun his target for 3 seconds. With an axe, Asmongold will cast Execute every 10 seconds, dealing 40% of his current target's maximum health. A staff is a bit special. Asmongold will use the high amount of intellect stored within the weapon to cure his verbal dyslexia. As a matter of fact, the chat loves it when Asmongold screws up spelling a word correctly.
Like, I cannot spell.
So him equipping a staff actually ends up affecting the entertainment factor negatively, so you can use this to your advantage. Sometimes, Asmongold will do something rather unorthodox. Excited by the thrill of battle, Asmongold will not be able to resist but think back to the good old days when he played outside in the streets in the evening, role-playing as certain top characters from World of Warcraft. So, he takes hold of his long, thick traffic cone that he found on the side of some construction site many years ago, starts pretending that he is Lord Marrowgar and, with the cone held out, starts spinning towards a random target.
This is the beginning and the end, mortals. None may enter the Master Sanctum.
The job is simple. Avoid his AoE. Be very careful when this happens, however, as Asmongold can topple over a fast food box if he collides with one while spinning. At the end of Bone Storm, the boss starts feeling dizzy, and the self-inflicted vertigo causes him to clumsily plummet to the ground, toppling over any fast food box within the point of impact. So make sure that you're keeping him a safe distance away from fast food boxes in general. This is your opportunity to negatively impact the entertainment factor. Here's how. Shortly before Asmongold falls, one player can stand between the boss and his webcam, blocking the view. Chat's gonna be on the edge of their seats wanting to see Asmongold trip over, but you prevent them from seeing this and they get pissed off, so keep this in mind. By the way, don't, and I mean it, don't even think about tanking Asmongold close or within the perimeter of his computer. This particular area is marked as a biohazard zone. Stand in it and you will lose 10% HP every 1 second, in addition to not being able to use any ability whatsoever. And last thing, and be very careful of this, the execute machine. Healers must keep everyone above 20% health at all times, throughout phases 1, 2, and 3. No joke, dude. He starts looking for people at 20% at all times. He sees someone at 20% HP. Well, you know what's gonna happen. We all saw the video. Upon dropping Asmongold to 70% of his maximum HP, the first intermission phase begins. Asmongold retreats to his computer, barricading himself behind an impassable barrier which consists of a large collection of fast food boxes. Once Asmongold parks at his computer, he begins to entertain Twitch chat by reacting to videos. The goal is to shatter the barrier as quickly as possible and stop Asmongold from successfully reacting to a video, otherwise the entertainment factor gets boosted. On heroic difficulty, attacking the barrier also causes collateral splatter, which causes portion of liquid mold and Dr. Pepper leftovers to leak onto the ground, dealing dangerous amounts of nature damage to players standing in the point of impact. Please, 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 please avoid. destroyed. Thank you. Knowing that it is essential for Asmongold to fully react to a video because their real-life income depends on it, 3 ads rush into the battlefields to make sure that this comes to pass. Players must deal with these YouTube highlighters. It is important that you do so because for every 1% of health that the barrier is missing, the ads receive a boost to their attack speed by 3%. Should players fail to stop Asmongold on time, the ads will hastily upload a highlight on YouTube, which boosts Asmongold's viewer amount by 20% from each individual highlight uploaded. This means that if all 3 highlighters are alive at the time of an upload, Asmongold will receive a 60% boost to his number of viewers. On Mythic difficulty, these ads do not spawn. Instead, a single powerful entity appears. His abilities are the same as that of his predecessors with 3 exceptions. Immunity to frost damage is 1. The second is that the ad applies a stacking bleed debuff with each auto attack, which grows in power exponentially. Tanks, beware. And lastly, instead of adding 20% to the viewer population with an uploaded video highlight, it attracts 50% instead. As soon as the barrier is destroyed, players must interrupt Asmongold's YouTube video reaction immediately. This triggers Phase 2. In this part of the encounter, Asmongold inherits all of his abilities from Phase 1. Knowing that the stability and quality of the stream is in danger, a powerful ad rushes to Asmongold's aid to instill order. McConnell Red is a responsible mod. What does this mean? If the entertainment factor is at either unhappy or angry, the ad will attempt to perform a banhammer, which improves the entertainment factor of the stream by 1 level. This particular ability is used quite often should the stream be in jeopardy. Players must correctly cycle through interrupts to make sure that the banhammer does not go through. However, this is not without consequences. Successfully interrupting a banhammer causes the ad to earn this buff. This causes the ad to focus his next 5 attacks on the interrupting target with 200 increased attack speed. Tanks must taunt the ad quickly before this flurry of attacks is fully unleashed, as it is likely to put a quick end to any non-tank target. Sometimes throughout Phase 2, the ad will perform a volcanic moderation. This is an ability with a 15 seconds cast time and cannot be interrupted. If this cast turns out to be successful, everyone in the group gets banned, resulting in an immediate wipe. In this situation, one player must quickly gain access to Asmongold's PC and acquire footage capturing this particular historic moment. The player wielding the footage then must rush in front of the ad. The spell becomes interrupted. No! However, this causes the ad to enter a state of uncontrollable rage and lash out with a rapid flurry of lethal sonic waves aimed towards the location of random players. At all costs, no player can stand within the AoE radius of this spell, as it deals a tremendous amount of damage. Because the encounter has been going on for some time, Asmongold will announce that he has to retire to the bathroom for a short time, causing him to disappear for 20 seconds.
I forgot to take a piss. Sorry, guys.
Throughout this moment, McConnell Red will begin casting several Twitch primes in a series which courses the chat to subscribe and overall improve the entertainment factor of the stream.
1 Twitch.
Just like with the banhammer, the raid must cycle through interrupts to make sure that this does not come to pass.
2 Twitch.
Any player that gets interrupted is sent flying away.
Fuck you!
Should this player collide with another player, the player affected by Haymaker is stopped, and both end up suffering a medium amount of damage, as well as having to sit through an 8-second stun. It is very essential that players catch other players, as there is the potential player of landing on top of a neglected fast food box. On Mythic mode, stopping another player causes the rescuer to take 800% increased damage from future Haymakers. Once Asmongold is brought all the way to 30% of his HP, the second intermission phase begins.
Okay, sorry.
Players will have 15 seconds to assume position within the boss encounter area quickly and make sure that everyone stands at least 8 yards apart from one another so they can easily be seen on the stream. If the players succeed at taking position on time, the entertainment factor decreases. After the 15 seconds pass, all players become immobile, and Asmongold takes center stage, announcing the beginning of the Mount Off Challenge. Asmongold then gets on a mount, starting off with mounts that are easily obtainable.
Anybody has this ironbound proto-drake.
All players must get on the same mount within the span of 6 seconds.
Oh, come on, dude. Come on, get on a better mount. All right, you're out. Next, let's go.
Oh, and don't even think of using store mounts. Soon after, Asmongold starts selecting mounts from a variety of those that are rare to obtain,
Get on the rat stallion.
with the final mount guaranteed to be extra rare.
Fell, still annihilated. Wow.
The difficulty scale is different depending on whether players have engaged Asmongold on normal, heroic, or mythic difficulty. I have explained the normal difficulty version, which looks like this. On heroic difficulty, Asmongold starts mounting up on rarer mounts much sooner, and on mythic difficulty, Asmongold prioritizes only extra rare mounts. Furthermore, the time window within which players have the opportunity to get on a mount is also much shorter depending on the difficulty. On normal mode, players have 6 seconds to react. On heroic, 5 seconds. Mythic, 4 seconds. In total, Asmongold will cycle through 10 mounts, so please make sure that everyone in the raid has a wide arsenal of mounts, as it is essential towards completing this one phase. If a player gets on the wrong mount, they get executed, resulting in instant death. If a player gets on the wrong mount and attempts to vanish from the fight, be it by use of vanish or any other means of invisibility, the player also dies, and with the addition of the entertainment factor being improved, as the viewers thrive on the misfortune of cowards. After passing through the mount-off phase, Phase 3 begins. The last phase. Desperate, knowing that his stream is in danger as well as his life, Asmongold becomes extremely furious, especially after seeing his good buddy bail. Yes, the ad from Phase 2 disappears.
Fuck you, bitch.
Are you fucking serious, dude? What?
All of Asmongold's abilities carry over to this phase, with the exception of the armory check and check chat logs. With his rage now way over the charts, Asmongold's skinny body achieves newfound strength, choking the life out of all players who have equipped on them at least one piece of a Titan-forged item.
There we go. Yes! Yes! There we go.
Furthermore, his attack speed is increased by 30% and his damage is increased by 40%. Asmongold will periodically headbutt his current target using the destructive strength achieved after years of hardening his cranium against his table to split the floor beneath him with seismic force.
I'm a fucking god.
This causes intense compression waves to travel through the ground towards all players who are close to the point of impact. Players should be careful and steer clear, and tanks should use this to their advantage, as every smash destroys fast food boxes within the impact radius. Each subsequent smash doubles the bonuses gained from molding. Eventually, it will grow so high that it becomes unbearable for both the tanks and the healers. To manage this, players gain access to the window in Asmongold's room. This window can only be used a total of 2 times. Players may click on it to let daylight through, causing the boss to become heavily disorientated for 5 seconds and cleansing him of all extra stacks of molding. Phase 3 must be finished as fast as possible before Asmongold's room is torn asunder, leaving no space to stand on. When the boss reaches 10% HP, the situation escalates as a last desperate call for survival in the form of reinforcements arrive. Most of Asmongold's buddies arrive on their World of Warcraft main characters and rally to save the stream, as well as their friend. This applies a pseudo PvP mechanic to the encounters, as the ads are copies of the characters played by their respective personalities, controlled by a somewhat sophisticated AI. These must be dealt with through expert coordination whilst keeping the boss in mind. Now, it's only a question of how well you will perform and maneuver around everything that is going on in the fight. And that's it. Congratulations, you have defeated Asmongold. Enjoy the loot. Thanks for watching. Would you like to see more of these videos? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Tell me in the comments down below. Watch me on Twitch if you want to see more of my content live, and you can also join our Discord server for updates on future content, memes, a small but growing community, etc, etc, etc. Next video on the shopping list is the classic edition of the WoW Nickbeard quiz, which I'm planning to start making soon, so stay tuned. And as always, until another time. Wait, are you telling me that Cat Danny's not as active as he used to be? Okay, I guess I'll just switch him with Daily Dose for the Mythic phase then.